All right, President Trump working out to hammer a deal as the government remains shut down and Democrats refusing to budge.
So, Mr. President, President Trump, if you want to open the government, you must abandon the wall. Plain and simple.
To be clear, Democrats are not going to agree to any funding to build new border wall? None?
That's correct. None.
Fantastic. Are these children or are they adults? Mercedes Schlapp is in the White House. She's the director of strategic communications and often probably wonders, why did I take this job?
Oh, I love my job.
I know you do. So where's the give there? I heard Mick Mulvaney open up to Chris Wallace and say, we were at 5, they were at 1.3, maybe it's around $2 billion. What do you say?
Look, this is part of the negotiation deal. So at this point, as Mick Mulvaney had mentioned, it's really up to the Democrats in the sense that we've offered them a deal. We'll see what they come back with. Our goal is to get somewhere between 1.6 and 5 billion. I mean, this is so ironic that it's the Democrats, like Schumer, who said that we need strong border security, where Durbin has said that we need to find a bipartisan solution to border security, yet they are not willing to budge, at least at this point, in terms of providing funds for physical barrier in that area. And as we know, illegal crossings have increased over 90% in the last 2 months. And you've seen the issue with the caravan. That's been a huge crisis on the border. And the mere fact is that at this moment, if we want to make border security a bipartisan issue, the Democrats need to step up to the plate. It's up to them to stop the shutdown.
Well, and Mercedes, this is President Trump's signature issue. Clearly, Trump supporters want the wall. Do you worry that it would have a demoralizing effect on his base if he does not deliver it?
Look, this is not about the president's base. This is about the safety of the American people. As we know, President Trump has talked time and time again about the importance of securing our border. We want to stop the inflow of drugs into our country, which impacts communities, American communities across the country and our youth. We want to stop human trafficking. This is an issue that impacts, again, American communities, areas both urban and rural. And we also want to focus on stopping illegal immigration. I mean, there is an orderly process. There is a legal process. We are a nation of laws. We want to ensure that we're able to stop what we keep seeing, which is this continual and increased flow of illegal immigrants. I mean, this is what you've seen, for example, with the caravan, which time and time again has been thousands of people waiting to come into the United States.
Mercedes, I want to ask you about another topic, and that is Secretary Mattis, Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, signing an order withdrawing troops from Syria, something that he advised the president against. Now the president really running up the departure date for Mattis by January 1st, and it's got a lot of people wondering what's going on there.
Well, first of all, I think the president made a campaign promise. It was very much, people knew from the beginning what his position was on Syria, which was to bring the troops home at the right moment. And what we have seen is pretty much the destruction of the territorial caliphate in Syria. He, at this point, said, we got to bring our troops home. So this is something where the president listened to many people in the process and made this decision to move forward on Syria. With that, he had a call with the Turkish President Erdogan on basically this issue of basically a slow withdrawal, making sure that they have the logistical support to ensure that they continue to get rid of any of the remains of the caliphate in Syria. Obviously, the safety of our troops is a top priority. It's time to bring the troops home.
Can you name an advisor the president has that recommended he pull out 2,000 troops?
I'm not going to get into the internal discussions of how the decision was made. At the end of the day, we all serve in the position of advising the president. It is up to the president to make the final decision. We knew from the moment he started in his campaign where he stood on Syria, which was that we were going to ensure the defeat of the territorial caliphate in Syria. Right. And the president and this administration, our troops have done that. And so now it's this opportunity to bring our troops home with a slow withdrawal back to the United States and really focus in on ensuring that it is about keeping our troops safe. We have done our job there, and it's time to move forward.
Is there frustration on the president's part, Mercedes, that this is being blown out of proportion?
You know, I think that the president feels very strongly about his decision in Syria. He last week met with both members of the Senate and the House, Republican members of the Senate and the House, to have this conversation about Syria, and he made his case to them. You know, obviously, when it's the senators, they have their own opinion as to, and many of them are very hawkish, and they have their own opinion on how Syria should be handled. For the president, he's looked and obviously consulted many people in the process and has made the decision that we have done our job in Syria, and it's time to bring the troops home.
Yeah, we're up
and he's
against the
working
clock.
with the Turkish president
Right.
to ensure that they are able to take on the role of getting rid of ISIS in the area.
But they never have. But does he talk to the Turkish president about not annihilating the Kurds? Did he get guarantees that the Kurds who have been doing our fighting will not be destroyed?
Right. He sent a very strong message to the Turkish president. In fact, we know that the Turkish president invited both John Bolton and General Joe Dunford to go to Turkey to continue these conversations.
Okay.
Again, we will be there to provide logistical support for the Turkish forces and ensure again that they are able to focus on defeating ISIS in Syria.
All right, Mercedes, now what you have left to do is have a Merry Christmas, and we will make sure your husband Matt takes care of that promptly.
Okay, that sounds great. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
Mercedes.
Christmas to you.
Jillian, thanks. President Trump working to hammer out a deal with lawmakers as the government remains partially shut down. Democrats, though, showing not much sign of budging on stopping the border wall.
It will never pass the Senate. Not today, not next week, not next year. So, Mr. President, President Trump, if you want to open the government, you must abandon the wall. Plain and simple.
All right, so what will it take to strike a deal here? Here to weigh in on that, GOP strategist Liz Copeland and Democratic political commentator Jonathan Harris. Guys, thanks for coming on this morning. Jonathan, I want to start with you. It looks like the White House has come down quite a bit. It looks like they're offering around 2.5 instead of 5 for fencing and some security. Is that going to play for Chuck Schumer?
I hope it doesn't. According to Chuck Schumer, it won't play. He said Trump is not getting a wall, and I hope if the Democrats can stick to that, then no, hopefully it won't. They already received billions of dollars in the 2016-2017 budget for border upgrades. They don't need this. This is about a campaign promise. It's not about border security.
Yeah. Liz, you know, the Democrats say that they don't want the wall. The wall does not work, but they're willing to spend money on border security. What is it that they want to try to secure the border that hasn't been tried before?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know if anyone knows what's going on. I think most of this for the Democrats is just theatrics. You can think about in the past 40 years, Congress has only been able to pass the federal appropriations bill on time in 4 instances. And so when they didn't do that, essential government services continued on. Here we have Democrats once again willing to shut down our government all in the name of illegal immigration. It doesn't make any sense, especially when you consider the people they're really hurting, furloughed government employees, statistically, more often than not, are Democrats. They're not Republicans.
Yeah. Jonathan, I want to ask you this. You know, there's a lot of numbers thrown around about the cost of illegal immigration in this country. The president puts a number at like $200 million a year, or I'm sorry, $200 billion a year. A lot of people say that's grossly inflated, but even modest estimates are in the billions. The Democrats right now are really angry over spending $5 billion, but they ignore the billions that illegal immigration costs this country. Is it fairly obvious to you that this is just about not having a wall and not letting the president win here?
Well, again, like I said, in the 2016-17 budget, they were given billions of dollars. I think they've spent, about 6% of it to upgrade the security at the border. So, again, I don't think his concern is about security. I think it's about going back to all these rural parts of the country and going, look, see, I told you I was going to get the wall. Look, I'm so strong I can negotiate. But instead, he's not wanting to upgrade the fencing that we already have and some of the existing security measures we already have. So to me, it's far more about that than anything else. And the idea of blaming the shutdown on the Democrats when Trump clearly said earlier this month that he would be proud to shut down the government and would take full responsibility for it is absurd.
Yeah. Liz, same question to you. Do you think that do the Democrats really care this much about $5 billion, or is this about making a political point?
I think it's about making a political point. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong. We should want candidates who uphold their campaign pledges once they're in office. That's what President Trump said he was going to do. That's what he's going to do. So as far as I'm concerned, when the Democrats say that this isn't a good use of taxpayers' time or money, I think that's absurd. Having strong borders is very important. And there are 11 million illegal immigrants in this country right now. The most important thing that we can focus on is securing our southern border.
Liz, right back to you real quick. Do you think a deal gets done, and what do you think it looks like?
Well, incoming acting chief of staff said that we could expect for this to carry on well in 2019. I'm thinking somewhere between the 3rd or the 4th week of January, we should see a break. But I think the president is going to hold strong and commit to making sure that we get funding for the border.
Okay, and Jonathan, to you, last word.
I hope they don't. I hope the Democrats stay firm on this, and I hope that Trump is forced to back down on this. There's quite a bit of things we could do in this country with $5 billion from education to infrastructure. It's not about a border wall. This is about him trying to keep a promise to his voters that should have never been made to begin with.
Okay, there you have it, both sides. Thank you guys very much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.